'Tis the sunset of life gives me mystical lore, and coming events cast their shadows before. Campbell. Dedication. Lady. If for the cold and cloudy clime where I was born, but where I would not die, of the great poet sire of Italy I dare to build the imitative rhyme, harsh runic copy of the South's sublime. Thou art the cause, and howsoever I fall short of his immortal harmony, thy gentle heart will pardon me the crime. Thou, in the pride of beauty and of youth, spakest, and for thee to speak and be obeyed are one. But only in the sunny South such sounds are uttered, and such charms displayed. So sweet a language from so fair a mouth, ah! To what effort would it not persuade? Canto the first, once more in man's frail world, which I had left so long that 'twas forgotten, and I feel the weight of clay again, too soon bereft of the immortal vision which could heal my earthly sorrows, and to God's own skies lift me from that deep gulf without repeal, where late my ears rung with the damned cries of souls in hopeless bale, and from that place of lesser torment, whence men may arise pure from the fire to join the angelic race, midst whom my own bright Beatrix blessed my spirit with her light, and to the base of the eternal triad, first, last, best, mysterious, 3. Soul, infinite, great God, soul universal, led the mortal guest, unblasted by the glory, though he trod from star to reach the almighty throne. O Beatrice, whose sweet limbs the sod so long hath pressed, and the cold marble stone, thou sole pure seraph of my earliest love, love so ineffable, and so alone, that naught on earth could more my bosom move, and meeting thee in heaven was but to meet that without which my soul, like the arkless dove, had wandered still in search of, nor her feet relieved her wing till found. Without thy light my paradise had still been incomplete. Since my 10th sun gave summer to my sight, thou wert my life, the essence of my thought. Love dear, I knew the name of love, and bright still in these dim old eyes, now overwrought with the world's war, and years, and banishment, and tears for thee, by other woes untaught. For mine is not a nature to be bent by tyrannous faction, and the brawling crowd, and though the long conflict hath been spent in vain, and never more, save when the cloud which overhangs the Apennine my mind's eye pierces to fancy Florence, once so proud of me, can I return, though but to die, unto my native soil. They have not yet quenched the old exile's spirit, stern and high, but the sun, though not overcast, must set and the night cometh. I am old in days, and deeds, and contemplation, and have met destruction face to face in all his ways. The world hath left me what it found me, pure, and if I have not gathered yet its praise, I sought it not by any baser lure. Man wrongs, and time avenges, and my name may form a monument not all obscure, though such was not my ambition's end or aim, to add to the vain glorious list of those who dabble in the pettiness of fame, and make men's fickle breath the wind that blows their sail, and deem it glory to be classed with conquerors, and virtue's other foes. In bloody chronicles of ages past, I would have had my Florence great and free. O Florence, Florence, unto me thou wast like that Jerusalem which the Almighty He wept over. But thou wouldst not. As the bird gathers its young, I would have gathered thee beneath a parent pinion, hadst thou heard my voice. But as the adder, deaf and fierce, against the breast that cherished thee was stirred thy venom, and my state thou didst immerse, and doom this body forfeit to the fire. Alas, how bitter is his country's curse to him who for that country would expire. but did not merit to expire by her, and loves her even in her ire. The day may come when she will cease to err. The day may come she would be proud to have the dust she dooms to scatter, and transfer of him, whom she denied a home, the grave. But this shall not be granted. Let my dust lie where it falls, nor shall the soil which gave me breath, but in her sudden fury thrust me forth to breathe elsewhere, so reassume my indignant bones, because her angry gust forsooth is over, and repealed her doom. No, she denied me what was mine, my roof, and shall not have what is not hers, my tomb. Too long her armade wrath hath kept aloof the breast which would have bled for her, the heart that beat, the mind that was temptation-proof, the man who fought, toiled, travelled, and each part of a true citizen fulfilled, and saw for his reward the Guelph's ascendant art pass his destruction even into a law. These things are not made for forgetfulness. Florence shall be forgotten first. Too raw the wound, too deep the wrong, and the distress of such endurance too prolonged to make my pardon greater, her injustice less, though late repented. Yet for her sake I feel some fonder yearnings, and for thine, my own Beatric, I would hardly take vengeance upon the land which once was mine, and still is hallowed by thy dust's return, which would protect the murderous like a shrine, and save 10,000 foes by thy sole urn. Though, like old Marius from Minturnae's marsh and Carthage ruins, my lone breast may burn at times with evil feelings hot and harsh, and sometimes the last pangs of a vile foe writhe in a dream before me, and o'erarch my brow with hopes of triumph. Let them go. Such are the last infirmities of those who long have suffered more than mortal woe, and yet being mortal still, have no repose but on the pillow of revenge. Who sleeps to dream of blood, and waking glows with the oft baffled, slakeless thirst of change, when we shall mount again, and they that trod be trampled on, while death and Ate range o'er humbled heads and severed necks. Great God, take these thoughts from me. To thy hands I yield my many wrongs, and thine almighty rod will fall on those who smote me. Be my shield, as thou hast been in peril, and in pain, in turbulent cities, and the tented field, in toil, and many troubles borne in vain for Florence. I appeal from her to thee, whom I late saw in thy loftiest reign, even in that glorious vision, which to see and live was never granted until now. And yet thou hast permitted this to me. Alas! With what a weight upon my brow, the sense of earth and earthly things come back. Corrosive passions, feelings dull and low, the heart's quick throb upon the mental rack. Long day, and dreary night, the retrospect of half a century bloody and black, and the frail few years I may yet expect hoary and hopeless, but less hard to bear, for I have been too long and deeply wrecked on the lone rock of desolate despair, to lift my eyes more to the passing sail which shuns that reef so horrible and bare, nor raise my voice, for who would heed my wail? I am not of this people, nor this age, and yet my harpings will unfold a tale which shall preserve these times when not a page of their perturbed annals could attract an eye to gaze upon their civil rage. Did not my verse embalm full many an act, worthless as they who wrought it? 'Tis the doom of spirits of my order to be racked in life, to wear their hearts out, and consume their days in endless strife, and die alone. Then future thousands crowd around their tomb, and pilgrims come from climes where they have known the name of him, who now is but a name, and wasting homage o'er the sullen stone, spread his, by him unheard, unheeded, fame, and mine at least hath cost me dear. To die is nothing, But to wither thus, to tame my mind down from its own infinity, to live in narrow ways with little men, a common sight to every common eye, a wanderer, while even wolves can find a den, ripped from all kindred, from all home, all things that make communion sweet, and soften pain, to feel me in the solitude of kings without the power that makes them bear a crown, to envy every dove his nest and wings, which waft him where the Apennine looks down on Arno, till he perches, it may be, within my all inexorable town, where yet my boys are, and that fatal she, their mother, the cold partner who hath brought destruction for a dowry, this to see and feel, and know without repair, hath taught a bitter lesson, but it leaves me free. I have not vilely found, nor basely sought. They made an exile, not a slave of me. Canto the Second. The spirit of the fervent days of old, when words were things that came to pass, and thought flashed o'er the future, bidding men behold their children's doom already brought forth from the abyss of time, which is to be, the chaos of events, where lie half-wrought shapes that must undergo mortality. What the great seers of Israel wore within. That spirit was on them, and is on me, and if, Cassandra-like, amidst the din of conflict none will hear, or hearing heed this voice from out the wilderness, the sin be theirs, and my own feelings be my meed, the only guerdon I have ever known. Hast thou not bled? And hast thou still to bleed? Italia. Ah! To me such things, foreshone with dim sepulchral light, bid me forget in thine irreparable wrongs my own. We can have but one country, and even yet thou art mine, my bones shall be within thy breast, my soul within thy language, which once set with our old Roman sway in the wide west. But I will make another tongue arise as lofty and more sweet, in which expressed the hero's ardor, or the lover's sighs, shall find alike such sounds for every theme that every word, as brilliant as thy skies, shall realize a poet's proudest dream, and make thee Europe's nightingale of song, so that all present speech to thine shall seem the note of meaner birds, and every tongue confess its barbarism when compared with thine. This shalt thou owe to him thou didst so wrong, thy Tuscan bard, the banished Ghibelline. Woe! Woe! The veil of coming centuries is rent, 1,000 years which yet supine lie like the ocean waves, ere winds arise, having in dark and sullen undulation, float from eternity into these eyes. The storms yet sleep, the clouds still keep their station, the unborn earthquake yet is in the womb, the bloody chaos yet expects creation, but all things are disposing for thy doom. The elements await but for the word, let there be darkness, and thou growest a tomb. Yes, thou, so beautiful, shalt feel the sword. Thou, Italy, so fair that paradise, revived in thee, blooms forth to man restored. Ah! Must the sons of Adam lose it twice? Thou, Italy, whose ever golden fields, ploughed by the sunbeams solely, would suffice for the world's granary. Thou, whose sky heaven gilds with brighter stars, and robes with deeper blue. Thou, in whose pleasant places summer builds her palace, in whose cradle empire grew, and formed the eternal city's ornaments from spoils of kings whom freemen overthrew. Birthplace of heroes, sanctuary of saints, where earthly first, then heavenly glory made her home. Thou, all which fondest fancy paints, and finds her prior vision but portrayed in feeble colors, when the eye, from the Alp of horrid snow, and rock, and shaggy shade of desert-loving pine, whose emerald scalp nods to the storm, dilates and dotes o'er thee, and wistfully implores, as 'twere, for help to see thy sunny fields. My Italy, nearer and nearer yet, and dearer still the more approached, and dearest were they free. Thou must wither to each tyrant's will. The Goth hath been, the German, Frank, and Hun are yet to come, and on the imperial hill ruin. Already proud of the deeds done by the old barbarians, there awaits the new, throned on the Palatine, while lost and won Rome at her feet lies bleeding, and the hue of human sacrifice and Roman slaughter troubles the clotted air, of late so blue, and deepens into red the saffron water of Tiber, thick with dead, the helpless priest, and still more helpless nor less holy daughter, vowed to their God, have shrieking fled, and ceased their ministry. The nations take their prey, Iberian, Almain, Lombard, and the beast and bird, wolf, vulture, more humane than they are. These but gorge the flesh, and lap the gore of the departed, and then go their way. But those, the human savages, explore all paths of torture, and insatiate yet, with Ugolino hunger prowl for more. 9 moons shall rise o'er scenes like this and set the chiefless army of the dead, which late beneath the traitor prince's banner met, hath left its leader's ashes at the gate. Had but the royal rebel lived, perchance thou hadst been spared, but his involved thy fate. O, Rome, the spoiler or the spoil of France, from Brennus to the Bourbon, never, never shall foreign standard to thy walls advance, but Tiber shall become a mournful river. Oh, when the strangers pass the Alps and Po, crush them, ye rocks, floods whelm them, and forever, why sleep the idle avalanches so, to topple on the lonely pilgrim's head? Why doth Eridanus but overflow the peasant's harvest from his turbid bed? Were not each barbarous horde a nobler prey? Over Cambyses' host the desert spread her sandy ocean, and the sea waves sway rolled over Pharaoh and his thousands. Why, mountains and waters, do you not as they? And you, ye men, Romans, who dare not die, sons of the conquerors who overthrew those who overthrew proud Xerxes, where yet lie the dead whose tomb oblivion never knew? Are the Alps weaker than Thermopylae? Their pass is more alluring to the view of an invader. Is it they, or ye, that to each host the mountain gate unbar, and leave the march in peace, the passage free? Why, nature's self detains the victor's car, and makes your land impregnable. If earth could be so, but alone she will not war, yet aids the warrior worthy of his birth in a soil where the mothers bring forth men. Not so with those whose souls are little worth. For them no fortress can avail, the den of the poor reptile which preserves its sting is more secure than walls of adamant, when the hearts of those within are quivering. Are you not brave? Yes. Yet the Orzonian soil hath hearts, and hands, and arms, and hosts to bring against oppression? But how vain the toil, while still division sows the seeds of woe and weakness, till the stranger reaps the spoil. Oh, my own beauteous land, so long laid low, so long the grave of thy own children's hopes, when there is but required a single blow to break the chain. Yet the avenger stops, and doubt and discord step twixt thine and thee, and join their strength to that which with thee copes. What is there wanting then to set thee free, and show thy beauty in its fullest light, to make the Alps impassable? And we, her sons, may do this with one deed, unite. Canto the 3rd. from out the mass of never-dying ill. The plague, the prince, the stranger, and the sword, vials of wrath but emptied to refill and flow again. I cannot all record that crowds on my prophetic eye. The earth and ocean written o'er would not afford space for the annal. Yet it shall go forth, yes, all, though not by human pen, is graven, there where the farthest suns and stars have birth, spread like a banner at the gate of heaven. The bloody scroll of our millennial wrongs waves, and the echo of our groans is driven athwart the sound of archangelic songs. And Italy, the martyred nation's gore, will not in vain arise to where belongs omnipotence and mercy evermore. Like to a harpstring stricken by the wind, the sound of her lament shall, rising o'er the seraph voices, touch the almighty mind. Meantime I, humblest of thy sons, and of earth's dust by immortality refined to sense and suffering, though the vain may scoff, and tyrants threat, and meeker victims bow before the storm because its breath is rough. To thee, my country, whom before, as now, I loved and love, devote the mournful lyre and melancholy gift high powers allow to read the future. And if now my fire is not as once it shone o'er thee, forgive, I but foretell thy fortunes, then expire. Think not that I would look on them and live. A spirit forces me to see and speak, and for my guerdon grants not to survive. My heart shall be poured over thee and break, yet for a moment, ere I must resume thy sable web of sorrow. Let me take over the gleams that flash athwart thy gloom a softer glimpse. Some stars shine through thy night, and many meteors, and above thy tomb leans sculptured beauty, which death cannot blight. And from thine ashes boundless spirits rise to give thee honor, and the earth delight. Thy soil shall still be pregnant with the wise, the gay, the learned, the generous, and the brave, native to thee as summer to thy skies, conquerors on foreign shores, and the far wave, discoverers of new worlds, which take their name. For thee alone they have no arm to save, and all thy recompense is in their fame. A noble one to them, but not to thee, shall they be glorious, and thou still the same. Oh, more than these illustrious far shall be the being, and even yet he may be born, the mortal Saviour who shall set thee free, and see thy diadem, so changed and worn by fresh barbarians, on thy brow replaced, and the sweet sun replenishing thy morn, thy moral morn, too long with clouds defaced, and noxious vapors from Avernus risen, such as all they must breathe who are debased by servitude, and have the mind in prison? Yet through this centuried eclipse of woe some voices shall be heard, and earth shall listen. Poets shall follow in the path I show, and make it broader. The same brilliant sky which cheers the birds to song shall bid them glow, and raise their notes as natural and high. Tuneful shall be their numbers. They shall sing many of love, and some of liberty, but few shall soar upon that eagle's wing, and look in the sun's face, with eagle's gaze. All free and fearless as the feathered king, but fly more near the earth. How many a phrase sublime shall lavished be on some small prince in all the prodigality of praise, and language, eloquently false, evince the harlotry of genius, which, like beauty, too oft forgets its own self-reverence, and looks on prostitution as a duty. He who once enters in a tyrant's hall as guest is slave, his thoughts become a booty, and the first day which sees the chain enthrall a captive, sees his half of manhood gone. The soul's emasculation saddens all his spirit. Thus the bard too near the throne quails from his inspiration. Bound to please, how servile is the task to please alone. to smooth the verse to suit his sovereign's ease and royal leisure, nor too much prolong aught save his eulogy, and find, and seize, or force, or forge fit argument of song. Thus trammelled, thus condemned to flattery's trebles, he toils through all, still trembling to be wrong, for fear some noble thoughts, like heavenly rebels, should rise up in high treason to his brain. He sings, as the Athenian spoke, with pebbles in's mouth, lest truth should stammer through his strain. But out of the long file of sonneteers there shall be some who will not sing in vain. And he, their prince, shall rank among my peers, and love shall be his torment. But his grief shall make an immortality of tears, and Italy shall hail him as the chief of poet-lovers, and his higher song of freedom wreathe him with as green a leaf. But in a farther age shall rise along the banks of Po two greater still than he. The world which smiled on him shall do them wrong till they are ashes, and repose with me. The first will make an epoch with his lyre, and fill the earth with feats of chivalry, his fancy like a rainbow, and his fire like that of heaven, immortal, and his thought borne onward with a wing that cannot tire. Pleasure shall, like a butterfly new caught, flutter her lovely pinions o'er his theme, and art itself seem into nature wrought by the transparency of his bright dream. The second, of a tenderer, sadder mood, shall pour his soul out o'er Jerusalem. He, too, shall sing of arms, and Christian bloodshed where Christ bled for man, and his high harp shall, by the willow over Jordan's flood, revive a song of Sion, and the sharp conflict, and final triumph of the brave and pious, and the strife of hell to warp their hearts from their great purpose, until wave the Red Cross banners where the first Red Cross was crimsoned from his veins who died to save, shall be his sacred argument. The loss of years, of favor, freedom, even of fame contested for a time, while the smooth gloss of courts would slide o'er his forgotten name and call captivity oh, kindness, meant to shield him from insanity or shame, such shall be his meek guerdon. Who was sent to be Christ's laureate, they reward him well. Florence dooms me but death or banishment. Ferrara him a pittance and a cell, harder to bear and less deserved, for I had stung the factions which I strove to quell. But this meek man who with a lover's eye will look on earth and heaven, and who will deign to embalm with his celestial flattery, as poor a thing as Ea was spawned to reign, what will he do to merit such a doom? Perhaps he'll love, and is not love in vain torture enough without a living tomb? Yet it will be so, he and his compeer, the bard of chivalry, will both consume in penury and pain too many a year, and, dying in despondency, bequeath to the kind world, which scarce will yield a tear, a heritage enriching all who breathe with the wealth of a genuine poet's soul, and to their country a redoubled wreath, unmatched by time. Not Hellas can unroll through her Olympiads two such names, though one of hers be mighty. And is this the whole of such men's destiny beneath the sun? Must all the finer thoughts, the thrilling sense, the electric blood with which their arteries run, their body's self-turned soul with the intense feeling of that which is, and fancy of that which should be, to such a recompense conduct, shall their bright plumage on the rough storm be still scattered? Yes, and it must be, for, formed of far too penetrable stuff, these birds of paradise but long to flee back to their native mansion. Soon they find earth's mist with their pure pinions not agree, and die or are degraded. For the mind succumbs to long infection and despair, and vulture passions flying close behind await the moment to assail and tear. And when, At length, the winged wanderers stoop. Then is the prey birds' triumph. Then they share the spoil, o'erpowered at length by one fell swoop. Yet some have been untouched who learn to bear, some whom no power could ever force to droop, who could resist themselves even hardest care, and task most hopeless. But some such have been, and if my name amongst the number were, that destiny austere, and yet serene, were prouder than more dazzling fame unblessed. The Alps' snow summit nearer heaven is seen than the volcano's fierce eruptive crest, whose splendor from the black abyss is flung, while the scorched mountain, from whose burning breast a temporary torturing flame is wrung, shines for a night of terror, then repels its fire back to the hell from whence it sprung, the hell which in its entrails ever dwells. Canto the Fourth. Many are poets who have never penned their inspiration, and perchance the best they felt, and loved, and died, but would not lend their thoughts to meaner beings. They compressed the God within them, and rejoined the stars unlaurelled upon earth, but far more blessed than those who are degraded by the jars of passion, and their frailties linked to fame. Conquerors of high renown, but full of scars. Many are poets but without the name. For what is poesy but to create from overfeeling good or ill, and aim at an external life beyond our fate, and be the new Prometheus of new men, bestowing fire from heaven, and then, too late, finding the pleasure given repaid with pain, and vultures to the heart of the bestower, who, having lavished his high gift in vain, lies to his lone rock by the seashore. So be it. We can bear. But thus all they whose intellect is an o'ermastering power which still recoils from its encumbering clay, or lightens it to spirit, whatsoe'er the form which their creations may essay. A bard's, the kindled marble's bust may wear more poesy upon its speaking brow than aught less than the Homeric page may bear. One noble stroke with a whole life may glow, or defy the canvas till it shine with beauty so surpassing all below, that they who kneel to idols so divine break no commandment. For high heaven is their transfused, transfigurated, and the line of poesy, which peoples but the air with thought and beings of our thought reflected, can do no more. Then let the artist share the palm. He shares the peril, and dejected faints o'er the labor unapproved. Alas! Despair and genius are too oft connected. Within the ages which before me pass, art shall resume and equal even the sway which with Apelles and old Phidias she held in Hellas' unforgotten day. You shall be taught by ruin to revive the Grecian forms at least from their decay. And Roman souls at last again shall live in Roman works wrought by Italian hands. And temples, loftier than the old temples, give new wonders to the world. And while still stands the austere Pantheon, into heaven shall soar a dome, its image, while the base expands into a fane surpassing all before, such as all flesh shall flock to kneel in. Near such sight hath been unfolded by a door as this, to which all nations shall repair, and lay their sins at this huge gate of heaven. And the bold architect unto whose care the daring charge to raise it shall be given, whom all arts shall acknowledge as their Lord, whether into the marble chaos driven his chisel bid the Hebrew, at whose word Israel left Egypt, stop the waves in stone, or hues of hell be by his pencil poured over the damned before the judgment throne. Such as I saw them, such as all shall see. Or fanes be built of grandeur yet unknown, the stream of his great thoughts shall spring from me. The Ghibelline, who traverse the three realms which form the empire of eternity, amidst the clash of swords and clang of helms, the age which I anticipate, no less shall be the age of beauty. And while whelms calamity the nations with distress, the genius of my country shall arise, a cedar towering o'er the wilderness, lovely in all its branches to all eyes, fragrant as fair, and recognized afar, wafting its native incense through the skies. Sovereigns shall pause amidst their sport of war, weaned for an hour from blood, to turn and gaze on canvas or on stone. And they who mar all beauty upon earth, compelled to praise, shall feel the power of that which they destroy, and art's mistaken gratitude shall raise to tyrants, who but take her for a toy. Emblems and monuments, and prostitute. Her charms to pontiffs proud, who but employ the man of genius as the meanest brute to bear a burthen, and to serve a need, to sell his labors, and his soul to boot, who toils for nations may be poor indeed, but free, who sweats for monarchs is no more than the gilt chamberlain, who, clothed and feed, stands sleek and slavish, bowing at his door. Oh, power that rulest and inspirest, how is it that they on earth, whose earthly power is likest thine in heaven in outward show, least like to thee in attributes divine, tread on the universal necks that bow, and then assure us that their rights are thine? And how is it that they, the sons of fame, whose inspiration seems to them to shine from high, they whom the nations of test name, must pass their days in penury or pain, or step to grandeur through the paths of shame, and wear a deeper brand and gaudier chain, or if their destiny be borne aloof from lowliness, or tempted thence in vain, in their own souls sustain a harder proof, the inner war of passions, deep and fierce. Florence, when thy harsh sentence raised my roof, I loved thee, but the vengeance of my verse, the hate of injuries which every year makes greater, and accumulates my curse, shall live, outliving all thou holdest dear, thy pride, thy wealth, thy freedom, and even that, the most infernal of all evils here, the sway of petty tyrants in a state. For such sway is not limited to kings, and demagogues yield to them but in date, as swept off sooner, in all deadly things, which make men hate themselves, and one another, in discord, cowardice, cruelty, all that springs from death. The sin born's incest with his mother, in rank oppression in its rudest shape, the faction chief is but the sultan's brother, and the worst despot's far less human ape. Florence, when this lone spirit, which so long yearned, as the captive toiling at escape, to fly back to thee in despite of wrong, an exile, saddest of all prisoners, who has the whole world for a dungeon strong, seas, mountains, and the horizon's verge for bars, which shut him from the sole small spot of earth where, whatsoe'er his fate, he still were hers, his country's, and might die where he had birth. Florence, when this lone spirit shall return to kindred spirits, thou wilt feel my worth, and seek to honor with an empty urn the ashes thou shalt ne'er obtain. Alas! What have I done to thee, my people? Stern are all thy dealings, but in this they pass the limits of man's common malice. For all that a citizen could be I was, raised by thy will, all thine in peace or war, and for this thou hast warred with me. 'Tis done. I may not overleap the eternal bar built up between us, and will die alone, beholding with the dark eye of a seer the evil days to gifted souls foreshown, foretelling them to those who will not hear, as in the old time, till the hour be come when truth shall strike their eyes through many a tear, and make them own the prophet in his tomb.